There are now 3 generations of Star Wars fans. Some fans love it all. Some fans like bits and pieces. Some hate certain aspects with a passion. But it is without a doubt true that Star Wars is generational. That's more true now than ever. We've had 40 years to observe it. And the Star Wars that you grew up with is probably your favorite Star Wars. Obviously, there are exceptions. Duh. But that brings me to the big question. No, not that question. Not what's the meaning of life. There is no meaning. You make your own meaning. The other big question is it possible for the final chapter of the Skywalker saga to bring closure and satisfaction to Star Wars fans of all generations? Of course it is, right? It's possible, right? To say it's not possible at all is a little silly. Of course it's possible, and possible is a pretty broad word. Is it likely though? That's tough. Is it likely? With how frequent the furious foam of fanatical face funnels lip shits like a gushing asshole on the internet, it looks like it's becoming less and less likely. Avengers Endgame has been brought up to me a lot as an example. It seems like the vast majority of folks really enjoyed that movie and thought it was a satisfying conclusion to an 11-year film epic, which is great. But comparing it to Star Wars, using it as an example of how a satisfying conclusion can be achieved, it's a little more complicated than that. Marvel movies have been pretty consistent. Same tone, same formula. They've all felt pretty goddamn similar to one another. Nothing too wildly different. And that's not the case with Star Wars. Trilogies have varied wildly. The tone of the prequels and the tone of the original trilogy are 2 of the best examples of how different this franchise can be, and 2 of the best examples as to why the fandom has been split before, and why it is a generational thing. The job of trying to wrap up a saga that has felt so different over the years must be insanely intimidating. In terms of concluding a saga, one that spans 40 plus years, multiple generations, and tries to combine everything into a nicely wrapped package that makes you walk away going, yeah, that was pretty damn great. That's tough. I guess we'll see. The generational tide has been very interesting to watch here from this seat. It's spawned a lot of my way or the highway attitudes, and it's also spawned a lot of level-headed perspectives that recognize this generational ebb and flow. It's certainly been entertaining, sitting back and watching the zoo. Let's face it, the vast majority of Star Wars fans go to see the movies, talk about them a little bit, and then they move on. The vast, overwhelming majority of Star Wars fans aren't talking about it online every goddamn day or playing thumb war with Twitter 24/7. They're just moviegoers. And I think that group of people won't be bothered either way. They'll either like it or they won't. Just like every other movie, they won't get mired in the muck because they don't give a fuck about the muck. What do I think though? I have a good feeling. The only thing I'm a little iffy about is the usage of Palpatine. And I've talked about that extensively. I've made videos about that. I even made a video about that either before this one or after this one. I don't know which one's coming first. But hey, you can't fall into the habit of judging something before you see that something, right? How many times have we seen people make box office predictions just to see them go wah wah, or go, that looks horrible, it's gonna do horrible, nobody's gonna like it, wah wah. You end up looking pretty goddamn silly. But a satisfying conclusion to a 40 plus year saga. Satisfaction is beyond subjective. Like everything, people will love it, people will be indifferent, and people will hate it, which is all fine. This quote from JJ Abrams about working on episode 9 has me maybe more excited than anything else that we've seen from the production. Quote, "It felt slightly more renegade. It felt slightly more like, fuck it. I'm gonna do the thing that feels right because it does, not because it adheres to something." Close quote. I like that attitude. That artistic freedom from the creative shackles of something prior is something I've been talking about on this channel since they announced episode 7. I hope they keep it up. Hello Greedo, out.